take him off the air last segment so he could talk to them. And he cut off a lot. But you got to fill him He looks cuter in person. But everybody says. Nice to hear that. Yes. I get David. Yeah, I'm the listener.
Perfect. Can I ask him?
He sounds like a listener.
This suit made me look fat. Oh my gosh. Come on. Say it.
Kevin Jackson.
Mine as well.
With David. I love to listen to your radio.
Yeah.
Pardon me? Really? That's your name. Good to meet you. See, I gave you both of them. Yeah,
But I just felt bad because I thought one of them was
Yeah, we got. I mail you one because I think this may be the last one.
Good. Kevin, thank you so much. Someone asked me if you could speak your time.
I'm going to say a few words here.
Okay, thank you.
Light is bad. Randy, you got a big thing on your head. No, I mean it's gonna. There's a shadow.
It's just Kevin Jackson.
Oh, whatever. Alvin. Mine's gonna take a better picture. I laughed in your face, Calvin. Thank you.
You're in the hallway just flying all over.
Yeah, maybe I actually got the better picture.
All right.
I'm missing this.
Can I have your attention, please? Silence. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and supporting a small business, conservative,
Thank you.
Christian, any other work. And I especially want to thank Kevin Jackson for adding an extra day to his trip for us so that we could have him here. It's humbling to have so many people supporting. Is he leaving? And I know Kevin is humbled by this because I've talked to him, and it's whenever you have a turnout like this, you don't really expect to have a turnout. You do something like this and you're like, God, I hope people show up. I know I was talking to Mike Frith, who put everything behind me, and he and I were talking, and he's like, I just want people to be here. I just want to see, you know, and so he did an extra blitz on the radio. Didn't charge me extra for any advertising. He just put it out there. Not yet, I know. We'll see it on the other end. I'm sure there's some meals in there. So now I want to introduce Kevin Jackson. He's got a few things to say, I'm sure he always does. And we enjoy listening to him so much on the radio. It's just an awesome pleasure. I get emotional just thinking about that he's just here just because we asked him to. And that's just an awesome thing. Not a lot of people will do that. So here he is, Kevin Jackson.
All right, so first thing I want to say is I will be at the Yamhill Valley Freedom Rally tomorrow, where I'll do a full presentation, and I promise you, if you happen to go, you're going to love it. So hopefully some of you will follow me over there, and the website is YamhillValleyFreedomRally.com. The second thing I'd like to say that's promotional is I own a site called TeaPartyCommunity.com. It is the Facebook for conservatives. As God is my witness, in 2 years it'll be the biggest thing in the conservative movement, and I hope you will all join that site and friend me. Amen. Because it's a big deal. It's a bigger deal than you think. The left is shutting down our voices. They've owned media. we call them the lamestream media, as you guys know. Well, they want to own social media, so they're shutting you down. If you haven't been in restriction on Facebook, you're in a minority. Pardon the pun. So I'll say that. What I'll do is, because I can obviously talk for a long time, as you guys know, listen to my show. I'll take any questions you guys might have and maybe do that. But before I do that, I'll tell you, I've really enjoyed Oregon. It's my first actual visit where I didn't just come to the airport or drive right through. And you guys, you warmed my heart to have this many people come out for an event like this. So it's a big deal to me. And I tell people all the time, I do not do what I do and get death threats and the threat of kicking my butt, which, by the way, there's nobody here to kick my butt, as you'll see, because it won't turn out the way they think. But you know, I really do like the fact that you guys are, I know there's not a lot of you here in Oregon, and hopefully it will change that over the next few years, but it does warm my heart to see you. I do this for you. I don't do it for me. I could be doing a lot of other things, and I can make a lot more money if I sold out to the left, trust me. So I'm happy to be among you, and so I'll take some questions if you want. Anything goes, as you guys know. So,
where are you based out of?
I'm in St. Louis, but I'm from Texas originally. By way of, I was born in New Jersey, for those of you who know, if there's anybody from Jersey. And I was there a year. I moved to Texas with my mom when she left my scoundrel dad. And he went to prison, and we went to Texas. So, but I live in St. Louis presently, in the hood. You guys think I'm kidding when I tell you I live in the hood.
How many barbecues have you had stolen?
Barbecue? I had my barbecue pit stolen once. I've had my car broken into 4 times.
Wow.
And now that I've got my 2 pit bulls and my sign that says I will shoot you if you come in my house, and if I don't get to shoot you, I will break your neck, then I haven't had anything else pretty bad happen.
I sort of going to the grocery store with the nicer grocery store and the like we didn't shop there very much. It's more expensive.
The black store owner and the black employees, I think.
Yeah.
Well, for gosh sake, we thought that it was just like yesterday.
I'm honestly trying to remember. I mean,
It was last week you talked about something. What was it? It was
Today.
that was a replay. Today was a replay. So it was a few days ago. Whatever replay today, it was about a grocery store, and she said you should be a member of the card member or something.
oh yeah. So I was at a grocery store the other day, 2 days ago. I rarely go, and went because I had to make some salsa or something for my kid. And I go in the store, and there's a guy, really nice dressed white guy, and he says, "Kevin Jackson," and he starts talking to me. It turns out he's the owner of the store. And anyway, but the point of it was he opened up a store in the inner city that employs probably 80% black folks, because I live in the hood. He's got a store in the hood. And it's very rare that people even want to put a business where he has his business, but he has it there, and he's lamenting being an owner of a business, you know, how tough it is to be in business. But the point is that it was mostly black staff, and the lady asked me if I wanted a frequent shopper card.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you think? I have white privilege? I can't shop here. But anyway, I don't know if the story applies. I mean, look, I could tell you story after story about how people perceive me and many other blacks, and what, as I say all the time, it's not about color. It is about how people, you know, it's about who you are, who you represent. So.
Okay, Kevin, I just want to know, do you have a mixed political family, or are they all as conservative?
Almost all Democrats. Yeah, so here's what's funny. So here's my family. My oldest brother, who is my cousin, but we grew up together, because he was my grandmother's sister's kid. He lived with us, so he's like my older brother. He's 11 years older than I am. So he's my older brother. I have an older brother biologically who's a year older than I am, 15 months older than I am. We are all staunch conservatives, okay? And I have a cousin who is the actual brother to my cousin brother, right? Staunch conservative. Everybody else liberal. In fact, when I was on CNN, I was doing my typical conservative thing, and my uncle called me and said, I thought I was going to have to come kick your butt because I heard your interview on CNN, and I said, that ship has sailed, Uncle. You know, when I was a kid, you could threaten me with that, but not anymore. But it was a joke. But he was shocked that I was a conservative.
So are the liberals in your family like him, kind of like?
They're staunch liberals. They're the ignorant black people I talk about. I mean, it's not like I'm picking on some, some blacks that I don't know. I'm giving you family stories most of the time.
There's plenty of ignorant white people too. If you sat down with Donald Trump, what would you ask him to consider right now?
What would I ask Donald Trump to consider? That's a good question. Donald Trump has a much better strategy than people believe. And I can't tell you a lot more than that because it's confidential discussions, but I can tell you that Donald Trump's not stupid. And his strategy going forward and the timing of it is a lot different than you may believe. So don't panic.
No panic.
Kevin, I was listening to the radio this morning, and it was giving the number of deaths in Chicago.
Yeah.
And what really was alarming was the fact that it is now turned that blacks, whatever, people are just driving up and shooting people.
Yeah.
For no reason. Whatever, they're just shooting them.
So the narrative is that cops are out hunting black people, right? That's the narrative. And that's what the left wants to present, which of course is complete BS. But in fact, to your point, in Chicago and in other major cities, there are actual games that are played by gang leaders that say, in order to get into the gang, you got to go shoot somebody. So what you're finding is the truth is they're actually hunting people on the street. In some cases, it's in the black neighborhoods. In other cases, it's in other neighborhoods. But you get into the gang, you blood into the gang by killing somebody else. Now that's not talked about. It's a true event. And what I talked about the other day on the show was, typically in Chicago, I think it was 9 deaths and 39 shootings over the weekend. But on Monday, there were something like 11 deaths and 15 or so shootings in a 24-hour period on a Monday, which is very unusual. Usually they wait to kill on the weekends for the most part. But a lot of those, if you get the underbelly of the story, those stories are people that are out, gang members that are out just going to kill somebody. So that's why I tell you, be careful when you go to those neighborhoods. Now, one other quick point to that is Rahm Emanuel knows where the crime is. I'm talking about Chicago, the mayor of Chicago. He knows it. He actually said about 2 weeks ago, if I could keep the bad guys in prison, in jail, I could reduce the crime rate. But the left doesn't want them in jail. And I'll tell you a dirty little secret. I was talking about this on a plane to a couple that knew me from St. Louis. The left thrives on the underbelly of crime in major cities. The mayors of these cities actually know the drug dealers, the sex traffickers, etc., as much as they know the aldermen or the city council people. You don't hear about those meetings, but those meetings occur. And when they need something, their dirty work done, they call those gang leaders, and that's how they get their work done. So I'll give you a real life story. A friend of mine in St. Louis has a piece of property, and he's been a landlord for years, and he's owned this property. Well, they're developing this property, and it's starting to become very beautiful. But his property is just very basic. So they got gang members and people to harass him to the point where he would sell. Well, he wouldn't sell, so they ended up trumping up charges, pardon the pun, and they jailed him and put an ankle bracelet on him and banned him from his property for a year so that it could get overgrown and everything, and then they could declare it an eyesore and get it. Now, we stopped it, but that's what happened right in St. Louis, and it happens all over the country, and that's what Democrats do.
Have you seen the movie Hillary's America?
I haven't, but people should see it. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When are you running for president?
I will never run. Well, so here's what I tell people that want me to run for office. First of all, you've listened to my show.
Shout out Joanne. Where's Joanne?
Joanne?
No Joanne.
Joanne. Oh, we're gonna eat your food. So here's the deal. Joanne. So here's the deal. I will run for president if somebody gives me $1 billion to run. Then I'll run. But you guys listen to my show, so be careful what you wish for, because I will absolutely go kick some liberal butt, and we're going to have the brunt of it. Yeah. So but what you hear on the radio show is my personality.
You could do more in the position you're in than you could as president.
I completely believe that. Yeah.
I'm Mr. Daniels, and I'm listening to your show all the time, and I'm somewhat like yourself. They call me the black redneck in this valley.
All right, well, I got a lot of redneck friends.
Yes, and the thing is this, what you're talking about, where the gangs and all that, I can take you all the way back to L.A., when Mayor Tom Bradley, Maxine Waters, and Reverend Donnelly was running in the 70s and 80s. This stuff here has accumulated in the last 45 years since I was 6 years old, and it become definitive. Liberals know that these 3 points, if I can make life as bad as hell on the people, if I can use the Caucasian race or any other thing for an excuse, then they'll profit and get what their agenda is worth.
Come on, sir.
And my point is this, Kevin, is that being a person that's trying to get people to vote, it's been a tough job for me as a black American. I'm not an African American, I'm a black American. I am tired of all this African American BS. I'm not from there and all that good stuff. I have a Tuskegee Airman foster father who passed away 7 years ago, who made 28 missions across the last part of World War II, served all the way to Vietnam. The point is that we got to this point. People got to be able to not be afraid. You've got to go out to your legislators. You've got to talk to your neighbors. 40 years ago, people used to know their neighbors on every block. Now you don't even know your neighbor within every 10 miles. And they're not even your co-workers anymore. You have to be able to get out there, talk, and sometimes you're not going to go out. You got to be able to meet in the middle with stuff, like in the game situation.
You're your own radio show, Daddy.
No, you wouldn't want mine. I'd be like Richard Pryor. But the thing is this, as a person who's still in Oregon, and I have struggled up on various issues, gun rights and everything else. I got a friend of mine, Mr. Strickland, who was defending himself. I'll be honest with you, you heard about the situation when a guy was in Portland, Black Lives Matter came out and ate up. Now, there are 80 guys coming at me at 220, 260 pounds. Now, I'll be honest with you. I believe that if, hypothetically, if I'd be in fear for my life, I'll pull out my P-89 Ruger, I'll tell them back off. If they don't, I will put 4 rounds in their ass. I'll be honest with you. But the thing is this, what bothers me is, I'm seeing it just like on the situation, Mall of Refuge situation, where because they're Caucasians, they're being persecuted, ruefully, put in solitary confinement. But if I would have done that and unloaded a round in a couple of those guys, I would have probably been get off justifiably homicide. To me, when you have this segregational mindset of Black Lives Matter, and it's circling to the agenda, the main agenda of the liberals, that's somewhat socialist, Fabian socialist today, you have to watch yourselves. We got to call them out. We got to not be afraid. I don't care what color you are, black, white, Indian, whatever. There you go. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Not much to add to that, right? So I think the overwhelming message there is that there's a battle. The liberals claim that they want to be all-inclusive and tolerant or what have you. And the racism that's occurring on the other side now, to his point. By the way, I want to thank whoever sent this young black man to be here now that we've doubled the population. But as I can speak for him in telling you that it doesn't matter. I mean, I love being amongst my people, and when people, black folks hear me say that, they're like, what do you mean your people? Humans, human beings. People that don't care about color. Nobody in here cares about color or whatever, and as I tell every crowd, none of you white folks are the same color, so get over yourselves. Anyway.
All you have to do is answer.
Kevin, I got one thing to say, there's only one race, and that's the human race.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. All right, I'll take one more question, and we're going to eat. I got to eat some barbecue.
So I got in an argument on Facebook the other day with...
What? An argument on Facebook?
I know, right? And I just responded to somebody's comment. I can't remember what the comment is, but the point he threw back at me was... let's see, 90% of black people are against Donald Trump. And I'm not a pro against, I mean, I don't like the guy personally. I think he's got some bad language problems, communication system. I think he could probably do a good job with his experience. But the point was, he said 90% of black people are not going to vote for any Republican, let alone Donald Trump. And the Latino, no, he said 90% of African Americans. And the Latinos, well, that's it. And the Latinos and the Asian Americans are following closely behind him. And I responded back with, first of all, he's not, they're not from Africa. And second of all, I must know the other 10% of black people that I know, the ones I know, don't like to be called African American. So I must know the other 10% that are voting.
All right, so let me cover the polls. The polls are all BS. Disregard them. Don't pay any attention. And I won't bore you with the details, but the polls are nonsense. When it comes to Africa, I will tell you a couple stories. You may have heard me talk about them on the radio show. First of all, Africans that come to America are typically, I mean, overwhelming. I'm not going to give you a statistic because 67.3% of statistics are BS. Somebody will get that later. Anyway, the overwhelming number of Africans coming to the U.S. are conservative. They cannot stand the African American. They think blacks are absolutely the laziest. They've squandered the opportunity in this country. And as a person who's traveled to 22 countries in Africa, I speak to every one of them, taxi drivers, mule, wranglers, you name it, and they all say, Kevin, I would do anything to become American, right? And the harrowing stories, I'll give you a quick one. So one of my buddies comes here from Ethiopia. And I said, what brought you here? We're friends now, but at the time I was like, what brought you here? He goes, I was on my way home, and my friend, my best friend, one of my friends told me, don't go home, they'll kill you. Your best friend's head is in the street. They had severed his head, and his body and his head were in the street. So he was on his way home, he does a U-turn. Hey, I just want you to imagine somebody right now telling you on your way back to your neighborhood, don't go, because your neighbor, your best friend's head is in the street where you live, okay? So whatever you got, you leave. Because the question came up, how many countries have you been to in Africa? And he said, 3. And I went, wow, you had to think about it kind of interesting. He goes, yeah. And he told me that he was going home and his head was in his, in the street. He then said, I spun around, I went to Somalia and the other country, I forget where, to escape. That's how he ended up in the 2 other countries. He said I was 30 days between taking my bath, my first bath, when I learned that my best friend's head was in the street. I was in Somalia, running for my life, and we finally got to a lake, and I could wash the stench off me till I got to the next country. And he goes, when I landed in America, because he got here on a, most Africans come here on the lottery, but he got here on a, what do they call it? Like, yeah, like a...
The refugee.
Not refugee.
No,
a war, escaping, like asylum. So he says, Kevin, I got off the plane and I kissed the ground. And he goes, I was never so happy to be in a country that I knew where I had freedom and where that was not going to occur. So that happens. And I tell this other story where one of my friends came from Senegal, very poor, and we brought him in, and he was on a lottery, and he comes in and we put him up at a hotel, and he runs the water. You guys have heard me tell this story, some of you, and he turns on the water, and he calls me like an hour later. He says, Kevin! I go, what? He goes, the water! I go, what? He goes, it's clear! And I went, yeah? I mean, I didn't even think. I was like, and what about it? He's like, what? He goes, it's been on an hour. But he's so overwhelmed to be here, and it turns out he's wicked smart. He's a neurosurgeon now in Atlanta. But that's what we used to do. We brought over the best and brightest, but now we don't. So we bring over people that want to sneak in, that want to get on welfare, and a whole other thing. Anyway, guys, I got to eat some ribs. I didn't come here for this. I came here to eat some ribs. All right. I hope you come see me tomorrow. Thank you, Kevin.
Genji.
Genji?
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
So I was going to ask you, so yeah, I watch you on Megyn Kelly all the time. You know, one of the things that drives me crazy, like Juan Williams, some of the guys you go up against, is, you know, if it comes to, you know, Pigs and Blanket, What Do You Want Dead Top, Dallas, Ferguson, Oakland, and keep going on, they all keep calling those isolated situations. When does 100 isolated situations become a systemic scenario?
Sell it. Yeah, but that's right. But you're now you're getting it, right? It doesn't.
They keep calling these.
Yeah, they name the same 5 or 6 people.
But they're
that get shot.
isolated.
Yeah.
So it's really just keep.
Oh, you're talking about when they do the cops?
Well, that's all those different things, you know, like they say, oh, that was just an isolated experience.
Oh.
That's not how
No, it's not. That is how they are. Sure will.
Circle what you want for side dishes. You'll get some ribs and whatever you want on it.
Okay, now we've got it. Oh, that's awesome. There we go. We got you. They're perfect.
My pleasure.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can we get a quick picture?
Yeah, let's do it.
My dad.
Okay. Yep, come on. You good? Yeah.
All right, here we go. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I
It was all blurry. I'm right-handed if I could take it this way.
We'll get somebody to take it.
There we go. I got it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. Yeah, if I could just stop shaking.
I won't get
All right. All right, we'll see more. We're excited.
Oh, good.
Looks like it's about 150
Are you selling them? It's not bad.
Oh, they're gone?
Yeah, why not? That's okay. The other one was blurry.
And I got a little bit of Bill's politics.
Yeah, well, it's good that there's a good...
Oh, well, good. I love that.
I have a question for you. Have you heard that it's like your birthday party or anniversary or whatever? Because I don't know how everyone
That's good enough.
I know. I'm going to get out here with no ribs. I'm going to be mad.
Well, please, each year.
No, I'm going to eat.